Hi, I'm Elizabeth Linden for the Power of the Patient Project. My guest today is Cindy Perlin. She's the author about the truth about chronic pain treatments and the founder and CEO of Alternative Pain Treatment Directory website. In her book and on her website, Perlin discusses the safety and effectiveness of both conventional and alternative treatments for chronic pain, as well as the barriers to patient access to those treatments. Her website also includes many resources for pain relief. Welcome, Cindy Perlin.
Hi.
Can you please tell us more about your research of managing chronic pain? How did you begin with this journey of helping others who are suffering from chronic pain?
Well, I got interested in it because I was in chronic pain. Starting 44 years ago, I was 25 years old and I hurt my back. I was running to try to get into better shape, and my back started bothering me. And I went to a doctor. They said, stop running. Here's some back exercises. I hurt myself doing the back exercises, and it was all downhill from there. It just kept getting worse and worse until I couldn't function anymore. I had to drop out of graduate school. I was going to graduate school for social work. And for the next 3.5 years, I barely functioned, and I was in chronic pain 24/7. And I wasn't able to find a doctor who could help me. They gave me drugs, they gave me narcotics, muscle relaxants, anti-inflammatory drugs, and nothing helped. And at one point, at the end of that period, an orthopedic surgeon said, I don't know what's wrong with you, can't help you. You may be like this for the rest of your life. Just don't do anything that hurts. And, living hurts. So what does that tell you, So I was just absolutely miserable and, somewhat suicidal because of, I was only 25 and I was going through this. Well, at that point, 28. And fortunately, a friend of mine recommended that I read a book, and it was about the mind-body connection. And at the time, I knew nothing about it. And I was home staying in bed because an osteopath I went to said, don't do anything at all, but come see me for treatment, stay in bed the rest of the time. I was watching the Holocaust miniseries. I was reading books about World War II and the Holocaust. And I had no idea why I was so miserable and depressed, because I didn't understand that what you put into your mind affects your mood and affects your body. So this book, which was called Anatomy of an Illness by Norman Cousins, it just turned my life around. And he mentioned laughter therapy, which is what healed him. When you laugh, you produce endorphins, and it helps with pain, and it makes life more worth living. And he also mentioned biofeedback. So I went for biofeedback therapy. Biofeedback measures your body and teaches you how to control it. And just knowing that there was something that I could do for myself, that I wasn't, completely powerless in the situation, that got rid of about 50% of my pain. There was just such a fear-driven component to it because I'd lost everything. I didn't know what my future was looking like. So I was able to get a lot better, go back to work, finish my degree. But then I developed a problem with my foot. I had a bone spur in my foot and the big toe joint, and I had surgery. And after the surgery, I couldn't walk without excruciating pain. And that went on for 14 years. And nobody I consulted in the medical field could help me. And, I was just beside myself. And again, I, kind of stumbled on something that would help me. And it was a very deep kind of body work called Rolfing. The mind-body stuff didn't touch the foot at all. And it turned out it's because that wasn't the problem. The problem was a structural problem that had been created when I was recovering from the surgery and walking differently to protect the incision that was healing. And nobody could figure that out. So, over time, I became very interested in helping people find solutions more quickly, so they don't have to suffer so long like I did before they find something, or maybe never find something. So I left my job, which at the time was working in administrative capacity, a state agency, and I started practice helping people with chronic pain all the time, and chronic illness, and just kept, learning more, researching it. And then people started dying frequently from opioid addiction and opioid overdose from their pain treatment. And I thought, I really want to get the word out that there's ways that people can deal with pain that aren't going to kill them and that are going to get them better. So I wrote my book, The Truth About Chronic Pain Treatments. And unfortunately, it wasn't a bestseller. So I wanted to reach more people. So I started my website, the Alternative Pain Treatment Directory, which is at paintreatmentdirectory.com. And at this point, it has over 200 articles about different kinds of pain and different kinds of treatment. And it has products that most people don't know about that can help. It has providers around the country in different disciplines who can help with chronic pain. So I'm, still working on building that. It's a great website, I think. It has lots of information, resources, and I want it to be the go-to website for people in chronic pain, where they can look and find solutions to whatever pain problem they're having, while avoiding dangerous things like opioids and unnecessary surgeries.
Well, that sounds fascinating. And so many people are suffering from chronic pain and all the opioid crisis that has affected so many and killed so many. That sounds like really great work that you are doing. What are some techniques that you have recommended to people who suffer from chronic pain, and what treatments do you recommend that they stay away from?
So, I recently tallied it, and I have about 110 different treatments that I've identified that are natural and safe and effective for chronic pain. So I can't list them all here, but I'll just talk about some general categories. So there's what I call the basics, which is diet, mind, body, and movement. So, it took me a long time to realize that diet does have an impact on pain. There are foods that are inflammatory. There are foods that are anti-inflammatory. Every cell in your body, every tissue, every organ is made from the foods that you eat, your hormones, your neurotransmitters, all that comes from what you put in your body. And if you're not getting the right ingredients, you're going to get sick in one way or another, whether it's chronic pain or heart disease or cancer or some other thing. So improving your diet is really critical when you have pain. Staying away from processed foods, which have chemicals that could generate pain. One biggie is aspartame. NutraSweet is a neurotoxin. It can cause widespread pain. So that's a big one. And then mind, body, because your mental state can either promote healing or it can promote harm to your body. If you want your body to stay healthy and heal, you need the majority of the time to be in a mental state where your body is healing. As soon as you go into fear, anger, worry, your body goes into fight or flight and your muscles tense, your circulation to your periphery goes down, your heart rate goes up, your digestion is suppressed, your immune system is suppressed, your healing and maintenance functions of your body are suppressed. So there's a whole range of treatments. One of them that was very helpful to me, as I mentioned earlier, was biofeedback, meditation, relaxation, visualization, affirmations, which are positive thoughts that replace your negative ones. All those affect your mental state. Laughter puts you in a healing state. So you want to attend to what your mind is doing. And then movement, a lot of people, they hear that they have, bad discs or they've had an injury or whatever, they're afraid to move. And actually most pain comes from muscles and not from discs. And when you don't move, your muscles get stiff, they get inflexible, they get weak. Your joints dry up. You need to move your joints in order to lubricate them. So, not moving contributes to pain. So, those three things, movement, diet, and paying attention to the mind-body connection are really critical. And then I talk about the add-ons. If you want immediate pain relief, safe ones are CBD, medical marijuana. There's a Southeast Asian herb called kratom that's an incredible pain reliever. Very safe, but the FDA is doing everything possible to try to shut it down. The other thing kratom is really good for is addiction. It takes away cravings. It makes it easier for people to get off opioids, whether they're using them for pain and they want to switch to something more natural, or whether they are addicted and they want to get over their addiction. Kratom, which is KRATOM, is a really good option for that. And I have several articles on my website about kratom and several sources for kratom products. And then there's devices that help, like electric massagers, pulse electromagnetic frequency devices, frequency-specific microcurrent, light therapies. There's a green light therapy that's good for migraines and fibromyalgia. There's red light therapy that's sometimes called photobiomodulation or low-level laser therapy. That's really good for pain and inflammation and speeds up tissue healing. And then there's all the therapies that people could go for. There's acupuncture, there's chiropractic, there's massage, there's physical therapy, there's movement therapy like somatics, an Alexander technique and Feldenkrais. So there's tons and tons of things. And then there's nutritional supplements and herbal supplements that are anti-inflammatory, that help rebuild nerves, that help rebuild joints. So there's just so much out there, which is why I wrote a book and why I did my website. And what's going to work for each person depends on what the primary cause of the pain is. So I do individualized pain consults with patients, and a lot of the providers on my website can do that to try to figure out, what's the source of your pain. Because what happens when you go to an MD that's not a holistically oriented MD is, first of all, they've had almost no training in pain. There was a survey of medical curriculum done a few years ago, and they found that medical schools on average spend less than 2 hours teaching future MDs about pain. Wow. And the other part of it is that physicians no longer control their own practice or how long they spend with a patient for the most part, because they're part of large group practices or hospital-based practices. And someone else is saying, you can only spend 10 minutes per patient. You've got to run them through. And so doctors have very little time to, figure out what's going on. And, the best thing they can do, best in quotes, is to write a prescription. And that's never going to solve your problem, because pain is not a medication deficiency. And many of the medications are bad for you. Opioids not only cause addiction, but they lower immunity, they contribute to car accidents, they actually prolong healing. There are studies that show that people who are giving opioids for pain are much less likely to recover than people who aren't given opioids for pain. So, there's a lot of reasons to go natural and to look outside of your primary care physician's office for help, even looking outside of your pain specialist office for help, because most pain specialists are anesthesiologists. They're taught to numb pain, not to look for the source of it. So in a nutshell.
A little disheartening, but at least hopeful, like when you are giving the other resources for us to look for, the chronic pain sufferers to look for, that they could be their own advocates.
And I know your organization is the power of the patient. And this is about taking back your power, recognizing that you have the power to heal, even without leaving your home. You have that mind-body relationship to work with, and you can move. Nobody's talking about a chronic pain patient going out and running a marathon. Even, small range of motion movements and taking a walk and things like that can make a difference. So people do have the power to heal from pain. They just don't know how, and they need some guidance.
Yeah. Can you talk more about your efforts to educate patients and the healthcare providers about the safest and most effective pain treatments?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I started working one-on-one with patients. I still have a clinical social work practice in upstate New York near Albany. And from there, I went to writing my book. And the book was published 6 years ago almost now. So it's a very comprehensive look at the healthcare system, what works for chronic pain, what doesn't. And unfortunately, the conventional treatments don't work very well. Back surgeries fail, back fusion surgeries fail about 50% of the time, often leaving people in worse shape than before. Even the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen, they can lead to very quickly with chronic use, heart attacks, strokes, kidney damage, GI bleeding. So my book talks about all the things you want to stay away from and the safe, effective ways that you can treat it. And it also talks about how a lot of these treatments have been suppressed, why you aren't hearing about them, how insurance companies don't pay for them, which is a huge issue for patients. Because if you've got chronic pain, chances are it's affected your financial situation. And you don't have a lot of money to spend on treatment. And when the only treatments you can get are things that aren't going to get you better, that's a real problem. So I wrote my book to educate people. And then, I got the idea for the website because I thought I could reach more people that way. So, and I've been blogging every week, bringing in other experts to write blogs and just collecting lots of information on other resources. And if there's any alternative healthcare providers who treat pain out there listening to this, you can list your practice on the website and let more people know what you do and how it helps pain.
That sounds good. And finally, would you talk a little bit about the U.S. healthcare system and how you had to find different ways to manage chronic pain?
Well, as I've said, the healthcare system is not oriented and structured to help people with chronic pain. Doctors are not educated in pain treatment. They don't have the time to spend with you. And then insurance companies don't pay for the treatments that you really need. One of the travesties is the whole opioid epidemic that was started by Purdue Pharma when they aggressively marketed their extended release opioid OxyContin and convinced doctors it wasn't addictive. And at the same time that happened, where they were pushing these drugs, the insurance companies cut off payment for other treatments. So they cut off treatments for the best treatment at the time was multidisciplinary pain clinics, where you could go to a place, and often they were located in big medical centers. You could have medication management, you could get physical therapy, you could get biofeedback, you could see a psychologist and learn about cognitive behavioral therapy and other ways to manage your mind, and often other therapies that are helpful for pain in one place with coordinated care. And at the time, in the mid-90s, there were about 1,000 of those medical centers in the United States. As soon as the pharmaceutical companies started saying opioids were the cure, insurance companies cut off payment to those multidisciplinary pain clinics. And there's only about 50 of them left in the country right now because of, so it's a difficult situation. And I try to tell people, the way to change this is to vote with your feet, go and get the treatments that you need. When I had my back problem, I had like no money. I'd been in graduate school. I'd only worked for a couple of years between college and graduate school. I didn't have savings. I didn't have income, but it just was a priority to me to get well. Health, when you lose your health, you really lose everything. So, people need to put it front and center and really pay attention and try to find the safest and most effective treatment there is. And generally speaking, unless you're going to an integrative physician, a holistic physician, you won't find that in your doctor's office. So, and I do have some legislation that I drafted. It's called the Pain Treatment Parity Act. Haven't been able to get it out there very much yet. But the idea is that it would require insurance companies to pay for alternative pain treatments to the same level they're now willing to pay for drugs, which is for as long as patients need it, as often, higher doses as patients need, for as long as they need, with low copays and no intervention by the insurance company, limited care, the way that they do now with the few things they do cover, like chiropractic. People just need to go for the treatment that they need. The same thing with medical marijuana. It needs to be covered. It's an effective treatment, safe treatment. Nobody's ever died of a marijuana overdose. We've now lost over 500,000 Americans to opioid overdoses. So we need to change federal laws so that people can and require insurance companies to pay for medical marijuana and all the other treatments that are out there. Massage, acupuncture, biofeedback. When biofeedback first came on the scene, it was like the late 60s, and insurance companies started paying for it. But now they don't. Now it's a specific exclusion in most insurance. They say exclusions, biofeedback. And why they would exclude a treatment that teaches people to control their own bodies and their own health makes zero sense.
Agreed. Yeah, and your work is very enlightening, and I think it's very powerful. And I hope you keep working on convincing our legislators to change their viewpoints. And I know there's a lot of financial concerns and how big pharma kind of works against it. And I hope you keep on keeping on with the work that
I'll be at it for at least a while longer.
But I really admire what you do for people that are in chronic pain, and it's I'm going to look forward to reading your book, because I certainly will buy it as a person that does have chronic pain issues, and certainly sounds fascinating what you do. And I do want to thank you for joining us on Power of the Patient, Cindy. And I really was interested in what you had to say today.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me.
And I want to my name's Elizabeth Linden for Power of the Patient. And thank you today for listening to Cindy, our guest today. Thank you, everybody, and have a good day.